I'm Michelle Stanton, your walking coach for Gennev's Get Moving program. We're here today for the second segment in our four-part series, Start Your Day with You, featuring Gennev's health coaches who are here to support you in your walking practice so you get the most out of it. Today, I'm here with Julie Freeman. She's a registered dietitian and yoga instructor. Welcome, Julie.
Hi, Michelle, and thank you for having me. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of protein in our diet, and especially as it relates to the perimenopausal and menopausal years, and wanting to be physically active.
Well, I think that's great because women, we tend to have a lot of questions about our diets, especially, as we're getting more active and we're noticing symptoms. Now, specifically for protein, when I think of protein, I think of muscle building, and it is important for that, but I'm sure there's a lot more. So why is protein important, particularly in midlife?
Yes, I talk about protein all the time. It's important for growth and repair. And even though as we age, we're more in the repair phase, we're still growing muscle at a slower rate. So in that case, we actually sometimes even need more. Protein's also really important for neurotransmitter development. And so while that's a big, long neurological word, I think most people can relate to the word serotonin as being the feel-good hormone and neurotransmitter. So serotonin is actually made up from protein, and it's very, very much impacted by the changes in estrogen as we go through perimenopause and menopause. So that's a really important one in terms of why we need protein. And the third one is that proteins make up our hormones, our sex hormones, our thyroid hormones, and even our appetite hormones, leptin and ghrelin, which help us with regulating appetite.
Okay, we all want to regulate our appetite.
Absolutely.
And right now in this stage of life, our hormones are fluctuating a lot. So it sounds like protein can, help us maybe minimize some of those fluctuations and help us feel a little bit better.
Absolutely. So one of the things about protein, which is really wonderful, is that it really is a balancing nutrient. It provides us with longer term energy, and we'll talk a little bit more about carb and protein together as we're going through this discussion today.
Okay, sounds good. So do our protein needs change as we are going through menopause?
Protein needs do change. And of course, there are mathematical calculations. If you need to go into that degree of detail, it's always great to check up with one of us who are coaches. But in general, our protein needs do change and they increase a little bit as we age. And the reason for that is because we're growing more slowly. We're in the repair phase. And so we need more protein in order to be able to enable that. The other thing is that many women have experienced illnesses by this time. And so illnesses are a physiological stress to the body, and any physiological or even emotional stress will increase protein breakdown. So we need to make sure that we're providing enough protein in order to manage those repair cycles.
Okay, so how much protein do we need?
That's a great question. So again, we could look at mathematical calculations, but in general, I usually tell people to try to look at roughly about 20 grams per meal. That comes out to about 3 ounces, or if you're a visual person, to look at the size of a deck of cards. And so that's a great way to think about having that at breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the day. Those are minimums, but that's a great target to look at.
Okay, and we're focusing on starting your day with you. That's the focus of this series. So in terms of protein, why is it important to start your day with some protein?
Yeah, very much. That's an important question. So when we fast overnight, we have no nutrition coming in. Our bodies are in a slower metabolism. That's part of what sleeping allows us to do, is to rest and also to repair. So in the morning, it's like starting the engine back up again. So I call the carbohydrate the log that we put on the fire, and the protein is that longer term energy that allows us to stay stable throughout the day.
Okay, so you want a combination of carbs and proteins, it sounds like. Why is that important?
Absolutely, yeah. So carbohydrate provides us with instant energy. I call it the gas to the car engine. So we're going to get probably about 15 minutes, no more than about 2 hours worth of energy out of a carbohydrate. Proteins, on the other hand, provide us with about 4 to 6 hours worth of energy, but they break down more slowly. So you need that instant get up and go from the carb and that longer term sustaining fuel from the protein.
And we definitely want both of those. We want short-term energy, and we need that energy to keep us going throughout our day with everything that we've got going on. So what are some good sources of protein?
Great. So I think most people are very familiar with eggs. Eggs are certainly a great source of protein. Any of your flesh proteins, meat, fish, poultry, pork, things of that nature are also wonderful. Beans, organic tofu or soybeans are also great sources. Nut butters, peanut butter, almond butter. There's a nice combination that has chia seeds, sunflower seeds, Brazil nuts, all kinds of nuts in it, which is wonderful. And then cheeses. So we have our dairy cheeses, and then we also have some of our good quality protein non-dairy cheeses for people who are dairy sensitive.
Okay, so sounds like there's lots of options. Some people might be vegetarian or vegan, and same thing you mentioned with the dairy sensitive. What about as far as quick sources? We're busy. Most of us, don't have a lot of time for meal prep. Do you have any favorite, grab and go types of protein sources?
Absolutely, yes. So most people are familiar with jerky, and it's so funny. I oftentimes think of, 7-Eleven going in and getting those absolutely disgusting jerkies, but I'm talking about things that are more organic or grass-fed. There's turkey jerky, there's beef jerky, there's all kinds of different jerkies. Great non-perishable source, so you could actually keep that in your purse, and it's not going to go bad. Hard-boiled eggs, again, you'd have to have a little bit of refrigeration for those. Nut butters, nuts are also a great source of protein. And bean dips, so things like hummus or black bean dip or things like that will provide a little bit of protein as well.
Yeah, I love that idea of having the jerky, being able to, toss one in your purse so that anytime you need that little pick-me-up, you've got that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as walking, so why is it important to make sure that we're getting enough protein if we're walking, and how is that going to help us with our workouts?
So protein is also known as one of the structural nutrients. It helps to build muscle, as we know. It also helps with bones. It helps with cartilage and joints and things like that. And so that structural framework needs to be supported by protein. So that's one thing, the structure part. And then the other one is that it's providing us with that longer term energy so that we can get through our walk.
And we all want more energy. So the walk will boost some of your energy, but we need that protein to help us get out there so we have the energy to go.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Julie, this is great information. So everyone who's listening, if you have any questions about protein, please put them in the comment section and we will answer them as quickly as we can. Julie, before we wrap this up, we talked a lot about different things with protein. Can you kind of summarize it and give, say, maybe 3 takeaways for what we can focus on to make sure we're meeting our protein needs?
Absolutely, yes. So the first thing is make sure you are spreading protein throughout the day. Have protein at each of your meals. If you are including snacks, make sure there's a little bit of protein with that carbohydrate at your snack. Having those non-perishable sources available on hand. And again, really looking at the timing of your meals to make sure that you're going no more than about 4 hours before you're actually replenishing those stores of proteins.
And can you maybe give us some suggestions? You mentioned about the carbs and the proteins. What are some good examples of, combining carbs and proteins?
Absolutely. So it could be an apple with peanut butter, almond butter, or some other kind of nut butter, sun butter, things like that. It could be a serving of Triscuits or Mary's crackers, which are great high fiber crackers with possibly with cottage cheese if you happen to like and are dairy, work with dairy pretty well. It could be a string cheese and some carrots. So there are lots of different ways of being able to put those proteins and carbohydrates together.
Okay, sounds good. Before we go, can you tell us how women can connect with a Gennev health coach if they need some more support with their walking program, making dietary changes, or any lifestyle changes that they might be trying to make?
Absolutely. It's really simple. Just go to gennev.com and then click on services, and then you'll find that you can connect with a coach, you can connect with a physician, or you can do a combination of working with a coach and a physician together.
Great stuff, Julie. We are all about supporting you guys as you are going out and building your walking programs. So remember, you want to start your day with some protein at breakfast. And Julie gave us some good examples. So start making some of those changes. You'll have more energy. You'll feel better. You'll be able to power through those walks. And I will see you next time for more wisdom and wellness tips from Gennev's health coaches. Until then, happy walking.